Hello, I'm Miranda Kahn.
And I'm John Bachman. Coming up next on Newsmax Now.
We're learning new details about a recently declassified counterterrorism mission targeting al-Qaeda. 2 hostages, including 1 American, are dead. America's Forum sat down with the director of the Threat Information Office at the Center for Security Policy to discuss that very situation.
And plus, Newsmax sits down with former Florida Senator, the former chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, Bob Graham. You'll never guess who he is endorsing. Well, maybe you will, for president in 2016.
We begin now with Newsmax TV's continuing coverage on that U.S. counterterror operation that killed 2 innocent hostages. Thanks for staying with us. We're going to start with what President Obama had to say.
All right, let's move on now. President Obama has offered his condolences after the deaths of those 2 al-Qaeda hostages killed in the anti-terrorism operation. One of those hostages was an American named Dr. Warren Weinstein.
As president and as commander-in-chief, I take full responsibility for all our counterterrorism operations, including the one that inadvertently took the lives of Warren and Giovanni.
The president talking there about the Italian man killed in the attack, Giovanni Laporto. The strike actually took place in January, hit an al-Qaeda terror camp on the border between Afghanistan and Pakistan. Weinstein was an aid worker in Pakistan. He was actually kidnapped back in 2011.
Meanwhile, the Secret Service is dealing with a new problem. This time, it's a security system breakdown at the home of former President George H.W. Bush. A report from the Homeland Security Department now says the security alarm system at the Bush home was broken for over a year before it was fixed. The report does say the Secret Service used roving patrols and cameras to keep an eye on the property while the alarm was broken, and there were no intrusions. Security problems were also found at the homes of other former presidents, but their names were kept out of the public version of that report. America's toughest sheriff, Arizona's Joe Arpaio, has been facing some very tough questions in a racial profiling case. He's in a federal Phoenix courtroom today. That's where it will be decided if he should be held in civil contempt for allowing his deputies to violate a court order. That order blocks people from being detained solely on the suspicion of being in the country illegally. Arpaio says he delegated the task to subordinates to make sure deputies were aware of that order.
Well, Miranda, a pair of New Jersey homes may be on the verge of sliding into the Delaware River. Take a look. A huge sinkhole has now opened up in Florence Township, and the earth has been sliding away, threatening to take those houses with it.
I don't have words for that. I don't. This is our home. We put a lot of effort into it. I put a lot of love in this house.
Well, engineers say the homes are facing an imminent threat with more rain in the forecast.
Loretta Lynch is getting closer to taking over as this nation's first female African-American Attorney General. The Senate is debating her nomination today. The path to the vote on Loretta Lynch was cleared last night, and it's been a long one. That's when the Senate unanimously passed a human trafficking bill after much debate. Republicans had wanted to get that bill done before the vote on Lynch. The final vote is expected this afternoon. Also on Capitol Hill, take a look at this. If you can see it, look closely. Kentucky Senator Rand Paul has some fun, a little fun there with Nevada Senator Harry Reid. Paul threw on some shades and then fist bumped the Democratic Senator. Harry Reid, as you may recall, had to wear these glasses after having eye surgery.
We welcome you in here. John Bachman, Miranda Kahn for the second hour of Newsmax Now. Also, Ed Berliner joining us. We just saw that fist bump with Harry Reid and Rand Paul. You know, they say politics makes strange bedfellows and strange hospital
We're very
beds.
good at it, too, as
Yeah.
I might say.
Yes.
We've all got it down here.
Yeah.
But we don't have the explosive fist bump, which I think is
we
terrible.
should try it. Blow it
No,
up,
let's-
bring it
okay.
down.
Oh, gosh.
We're going to
please,
give a
it's
long
so
distance
old.
fist bump to Ford O'Connell, who's joining us also from Washington, D.C. And we saw that little communique there between.
Give me a little explosive there, Ford. Come on.
Come on.
Blow it up.
Don't
Blow
do
it
it,
up,
Ford.
baby.
Bring it
Thank
down.
you.
Love
Okay,
it.
there you go.
That was great.
All right, guys, let's talk a little bit more. We know that Rand Paul has been helping Harry Reid with his eye situation, so they got some sort of a friendly situation going on there. But let's also talk to Ed. Later today, the New England Patriots are going to be at the White House for the 4th time, I think, since they first won the national championship all those years ago.
Bring it on. Come on. I like it. I like it. Keep going.
Bring
It's all
it
right. That's
on.
my team.
Do you think that there's still that thrill there for Bill Belichick going back the 4th time to shake the president's hand?
Sure. Absolutely it is, because you're the champion. I mean, Bill is not hiding any footballs. There's nobody actually standing off to the side doing any secret videotaping. Trust me, it never happened in the first place.
Ford,
That'll
plus or
start
minus
arguments.
on the number of Deflategate jokes we get from the president today.
You're probably going to get a good 5 just because it takes away from his foreign policy, which is a joke. Let me say this as a former New England Patriot season ticket holder and one of the largest fans, and somebody who's had one-on-ones with Bill Belichick. Let me say this. He's a man who has so much drive, he doesn't care. It never gets too old for him, and that's the reason why they're consummate winners.
It's very true, but the thing you'll also know about Bill, and if you've experienced him in a press conference setting, you could take a post-game press conference that Bill Belichick had in 2010, and you could then play it after a game in 2015, it would be exactly the same. There would be no change. It would be the same issues, and he wouldn't tell you anything, which is the beauty of him. You could just put it together, and he's a marvelous non-answer answer. Yes?
Well, you're absolutely right. And he would always say this, on to Cincinnati or on to the next game, and it would just confound reporters. But it was great TV, and it was exactly how to block the press. Frankly, a lot more political candidates should take notice
Yes.
because he
That's
has
a good
great
point.
techniques.
That's a good point. I'll tell you what, if more political candidates learned how to be an NFL head coach and do the press like that, they would never have to worry.
You're gonna start giving them some
We'd be
ideas.
sitting there trying desperately to get answers out of them.
More
We were
grunting
quite
at
a
the
few
podium like
people in the
Belichick
race.
does?
Belichick does not grunt at the podium. He just kind of looks and goes,
Okay.
it's one of those, get away from
You're
me.
too kind. All right, well,
I will say, though, as a presidential candidate, you can't wear the hoodie up there to the podium. But other than that, you're pretty good.
you can't wear them either on the floor of the United States Congress either. You'll get censored for
That would be the worst thing. And when Bill's away from his hoodie, everything changes.
All right,
Different man.
different meanings for the hoodies there. Let's move on. And we're talking about the NFL season. The schedule has just come out here. Here's ESPN's Adam Schefter on the pairing for the opening game.
2 franchises with lots of Vince Lombardi trophies, 2 franchises with great quarterbacks, 2 high-flying offenses, 2 great head coaches, the kind of battle that you look for on a Thursday night with 2 teams, by the way, who also will be without their starting running backs as LeGarrette Blount and Le'Veon Bell will be serving their suspensions.
All right, we got a lot going on with NFL suspensions. We had another NFL player, and we won't even mention his name here, suspended, but still criticism abounds with the NFL and their failure to seemingly get their hands around the domestic violence and other behavioral problems still with the league. Ford, do you think this becomes a further burden on the NFL, a cloud hanging over their heads in the coming season?
Well, I think they have a lot of clouds hanging over their head, but I will say this, they're very good at protecting the shield, the NFL insignia, and at the end of the day, based on TV rights and the fans' hunger, they keep people coming back. So even though people get a little worked up at the moment over some of this stuff, it's amazing how the fans just keep coming back because it's a moneymaker and it's violence on Sunday, and all men and women like to watch it.
And let's look at it this way. Domestic violence in the NFL is not something new. It hasn't all of a sudden happened in the last 2 years, as has drug use, as has steroid use, how has any other transgressions that you want. This has been going on in the NFL and Major League Sports for decades. It has been allowed. I have been in locker rooms before. I have seen these things happen. I have watched them
Have you seen it right in
happen.
plain view?
What do you mean? Watch actually somebody use
and
drugs?
Let me
No.
say this, though.
No, but I
think that
can
what
tell you
happens
flat
here is
out.
that we expect.
No, for what I was going to say, I can tell you flat out, this stuff happens all the time. People are always covering it up. They've been doing it since the 50s and the 60s. But now, because of what's happened in America, they need to get a grasp on it. They've allowed it to go on for too long.
Also interesting to note, guys, too.
Well, that's absolutely right, but let's also understand the dissemination of YouTube, other things, being able to go to practices, being able to take pictures of these players out there. The problem is I think that the media and the public try to hold these players to a higher standard and don't realize that they're basically ordinary people with extraordinary talents. But I have to say that when you're getting paid like that, you have to understand that you have to hold yourself up there to a higher standard.
You do, and you should be held to a higher account based on the role they play in
that.
our society. We do want to send a shout out to Patriots' Nate Solder, who is going to be who played the whole 2014 season with testicular cancer. Pretty remarkable. We don't want to always bash the NFL. We do want to highlight some of the players.
Powerful men doing a tough job, and that is absolutely stunning what he did for the year. And the Patriots will win another Super Bowl this year.
All right, their prediction.
There you have it.
We're coming
The
back.
Dolphin fan just had a heart attack.
Yeah, it's okay. It's going to be all right. Great. Thanks, Ed.